All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So today's video, we're going to focus on, is it really worth it? And in this video, we're going to be focusing on the Pixel 7. Now, this is one of Google's latest devices that launched in 2022 around October or so. And this is a device that a lot of people have recently purchased, and a lot of people actually got it on a really good deal, better than some of the people who bought it at launch, because you got more off. They had, the so-called Black Friday deals, and you have other places that sold the device. Google Fi has it for like $200 or $300 off. I think $200 off. A lot of places had it marked down $100. There's just different prices that you can find at different times. We're in the month of December right now, so some of those deals are definitely gone. But I wanted to focus on this device, and let's see if it's actually really worth it. So we're going to have to check some boxes here. So in 2022, heading into 2023, 2022 kind of set the mark where we start to really see what OEMs are going to give us. And what do you mean by that, Jay? Well, what I mean is they've had plenty of time, not just Google, but OEMs in general have had plenty of time to show us what they can do and give us the best bang for our buck, and still throw in and remain profitable, I should say, as well. And then throw in those little goodies and extras and just something to make us say, oh man, I'm so glad I bought this device. It is really worth it. But not everyone can say that about their phone. There's a lot of people that buy phones that they might not feel it's worth it for one reason, or maybe even two reasons, when the device definitely has a ton of pros. So, is the Pixel 7 worth it? Let's discuss right now. So, on the forefront of this, like on the surface, this has a 6.3 inch display, 1080 by 2400. And the reason I start there is because this is what you see when you look at the phone. This is what you're focusing on predominantly the entire time. Now, mine has, should I make it look a little different for you? The wallpaper and style is where you go in and you kind of theme the icons and change them and, make them look a certain way. So this is what the icons really look like. But since this is Android 13, you can theme it to your device and have it set up how you want. But for color purposes and pop, we'll go ahead and change it back to the default icons. I like it the other way though. So the screen is what you're looking at, and you're getting a 1080p 90 hertz display. Now, some people would say, oh my gosh, it needs to be 120 hertz. Folks, it really doesn't, in my humble opinion, but you like what you like. And we all get what we get when we pay for what we pay for. Now, this device starts at $599, but I'll get to price later. But it's an AMOLED 90 hertz HDR10 plus display with 1,000 nits and 1,400 nits peak brightness. That is bright, really bright. You've got always on display, and it has Corning Gorilla Glass Victus. So I don't have a screen protector on this thing at all, and it has not been scratched up very, very much. There are light scratches on there. I'm not going to say there's not. There's definitely some light abrasions on there. Nothing really deep or anything like that. But the display is actually really good. So just looking at it like this, you're saying, okay, this is a very clear display. Let me see if I can go into some here. I know what I can do. I can look at some different wallpapers here. Let's set the home screen real quick. Now, looking at it this way, you see a difference. More than likely, you might see a little bit of difference in quality in the display, but looking at photos and things like that, that's good. Looking at videos on your phone, that's good. But predominantly, what you see on your device is, when it's idle, is just this screen right here. I personally think this is a beautiful display. And to answer the question, is it worth it? Yes, it is. This display is totally worth it for the package that Google is offering. The display is worth it. Now, the design of the device, is it worth it? So in 2022, Google decided to change up their typical style device. And I do have a skin protector on there from SophieGuard.com. You should hit them up if you want the latest to make your device look really nice and neat. Now, hardware and design, is it worth it? Well, if you had any of the previous generation Google Pixels, they didn't have this design. They recently started with the 6 lineup by changing it to something new, like with this bar design on here, and just giving it a glossy glass back and all these different things to make the device look different. Well, the Pixel 7 compared to the Pixel 6, hardware-wise, feels much better in the hand. It just feels better in my humble opinion. I like that it has the brushed aluminum finish along the sides here. I just think that's really, really nice. I really wish they had a matte back or just a frosted back to just really set it off. That would have been like top of the line hardware for me personally, but at least it has the brushed aluminum sides around here, and it's just a really sweet looking phone in my opinion. Google got a lot of heat about their hardware is ugly, on the previous generation devices. And a lot of people said, oh man, that's the ugly hardware. I don't like that unibody design. They could have kept the unibody design in the plastic version and made it look like this, and I think it still would have set it off and made it great. So hardware wise, you do have this dual camera setup back here with a 50 megapixel shooter on the hardware on the back of this phone. And it also has one other lens there for ultra wide, which is a 12 megapixel shooter. So the way it looks and the way it feels is actually pretty solid. The hardware that you can't see it's on the inside, and it's the battery, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But overall design of this device and the way it looks and feels in your hand, is it worth it? Yeah, I think it is. I think it is worth it. I think they did a great job for what you pay for this device, for the hardware wise. So yeah, this gets a go in my opinion. It's a really nice size. It's not too big. It's not too small. And it just really, really does well with the in-feel hand compared to other phones that might be a little too big for most people. So one important factor about this device are the cameras. So Google is known for taking some of the best photos ever. Their AI learning system, especially with this device, has gone to the next level. Their cameras have always been great. Always. Now, in 2022 with the Pixel 7 lineup, they introduced cinematic video. And this was like a high point, a focus for them, and a focus for a lot of tech enthusiasts when we saw that it has cinematic video. But once we got into this, we thought, well, it can only do full HD. It's pretty good. It still needs to work, but it was a good first attempt on there. And right out the rip, is it worth it to have cinematic video on the device? Yeah, it definitely is. But does it shine enough to make you say, this is the only reason I'm going to buy this device? If you film videos a lot on your YouTube channel or something like that, or a person who just films in general, street photography, street videographer, yeah, no, absolutely not. The cinematic video definitely needs some work, but their photo game and their video game is on point. I mean, they have 4K 60, they have HDR when you're doing 30 frames per second. HDR 10-bit is absolutely off the charts with the 7 lineup. You've got the enhanced speech when you're vlogging. This is something that they really push, and I think you really should try this if you have not already. It is great, folks. It really is great for people who vlog, period, hands down. So you got your slow motion toggle over here, you got your widescreen button here, you got your telephoto zoom lens right there. It's not really, you don't physically have a zoom lens, but it's digital. And then you have your time lapse, and I keep steady shot on basically. It makes the videos really smooth when walking and things like that. So it's up to you to set your camera up how you want to set it up. Most of the time when I'm doing some 60 frames per second, current day, I should just like to shoot in 60 frames per second because it makes the videos look really smooth. That was my thing. But pretty much I like shooting in HDR now. I think HDR is like one of the best ways to go for your video content because it really makes the videos look a lot better. But having that steady shot on is a huge plus because I'm going to vlog. I want to have my hands full. I want to get the best setting. And right now, cinematic video on the Pixel 7 is not the best setting. Here's the correct setting that I would tell a person if you want to get Google's best foot forward. 4K, 30 frames per second, turn on HDR, and have the speech enhancement turned on. That's going to be the best vlog and the best video you'll probably ever get. That's just my opinion. So are the cameras worth it? Absolutely. With 1.5 taken off for their first attempt at cinematic video, it definitely needs some work for sure. So another area that's going to be important to people, where it should be like one of the top reasons besides camera, is battery life. This thing has a 4,355 milliamp hour battery inside, and it's stellar on the battery. So is it worth it for the battery? Absolutely, it's worth it. It is definitely phenomenal. This has got to be some of the best battery that you can get on a powerful device like this, because we'll get to the software and the internals, and then we'll get out of here. But this battery life. Now, one thing is important to note, that battery life depends on the user. If you look at how many apps I have here, I don't have that many. On my devices, these are the same apps that I have, with the addition of like Peacock and things like that. Sometimes I'll add some things to the device that I'm going to kill some time, so I'll go ahead and download Peacock most of the time, because I pay for Peacock, and a lot of premieres are on Peacock that are not on any of the other streaming services. So I'll download Peacock if I know I'm going to be sitting for at least 20-30 minutes, and I'll go ahead and start watching something that I was already watching on TV or something like that. But I don't have that many apps. I have the essential apps that I need. I got my home security stuff, and some social media, and then the rest of it is like banking and things like that. But I don't keep a lot of apps on my device, and I don't suggest that you do either. If you want to get the most out of your device, you're going to have to kind of tone it back a little bit, just so you can get the best battery out of your device. Apps do kill your device. Widgets kill your device faster than normal. They don't kill your device per se just to kill it. They're not a reason that you're losing battery, but it is one of the main reasons that you are losing battery. That is one of the main reasons that you are losing battery, is having a ton of widgets on your home screen. So with me, I choose to run 1 or 2 widgets every now and then, but most of the time I'll just take them off, because I'd rather just go into the application. Now, application from battery performance, great. Yes, it's worth it, to software. Software on this and performance is absolutely great. If you want a Pixel device, if you want an Android device, if you want to know what Android is all about, you need to start with a Google Pixel device. It doesn't have to be this device, but you need to start with a Google Pixel device. This is going to be the main thing that can shift you from either not wanting to deal with Android, or just going to iOS, or whatever you're going to go to. A lot of people don't start with an official Android device, and then they get hooked on the other brands that have overlays and a bunch of other things that they're not technically a part of Google most of the time. And then when they go to a Google device, they say, oh, it's kind of boring. Well, you've kind of gotten hooked into another brand that has a heavy overlay, and they're not really giving you a genuine Google experience. You can go to those brands. Yes, go to them. Use them eventually. But I say, if you want an Android device, if you want a Google device, if you want an Android experience authentic, you have to start with a Pixel. There's no other way to do it. You have to. This is what we need to experience first before venturing out and going into the other lane of Google devices. So the design is great. The screen is great. The battery is great. The software is great. The performance is great. The cameras are great. Are all of those worth it? Yes. Let's talk about price, and then a few more things before we get out of here. The price of this device is $599. Off the rip, is it worth it? Yes. Even with no discounts on this device offers more bang to the customer than 95% of the devices on the market today. This offers a lot. It is totally worth the price. The package is complete. With a few nicks and scrapes here and there, this is a winner, folks. Is the Pixel 7 worth it? Yes, it is. Now, there's a lot of things I didn't mention about this device, because consumers don't go deeply into it like that. They might talk about it for a second, but they move on. It's IP68. Yeah. It is IP68. It has the Tensor G2 chip, which is a 5nm chip. It runs Android 13. These are things that people probably focus on, but not too much. It has 128 gigs of storage with 8 gigs of RAM, or 256 gigs of storage with 8 gigs of RAM. It has UFS 3.1, and what that does is that helps for when you're plugging something into this device to transfer it off. It's going to go really fast. Yeah. Now, the front camera is a 10.8 megapixel with the ultra wide, which is great for selfies, and it has auto HDR and panorama, and it shoots in 4K as well. So things like that in this selfie world that we're in, and vlogging world that we're in, you will get good footage on the front camera, not just the back. It also has stereo speakers and Wi-Fi 6E. Now, a lot of people are not on Wi-Fi 6E yet. Some people, tech enthusiasts, I think we forget that the world is not spending their money the way we're spending our money. Try to think about the everyday consumer, and just try to remember to think about the everyday consumer, and then you'll be set back into reality. They are not spending their money like we're spending ours. They're just not doing it. Under display fingerprint reader, which is actually a great improvement over the previous generation, if you guys remember that debacle. You've got Type-C 3.2, folks. These are things that people don't really focus on. Bluetooth 5.2, aptX HD. As a tech enthusiast, you're going to focus on these things. You have to. 20-watt wired fast charging, 50% in 30 minutes. And you also have 20-watt wireless charging. You have reverse charging. And it comes in 3 colors. So on the chopping block today was the Pixel 7. It comes in obsidian black. I think it's called obsidian black. Let's confirm. I think it's called obsidian. Let's just call it obsidian. Yeah, obsidian, lemongrass, and snow. A lot of people will go towards snow and lemongrass, but I saw the obsidian on the Pro version, and I said, you know what? I'm getting that on the 7 too. Very rare this year that I went with some dark phones. Now, Google sent over the 7 Pro, and I purchased the 7. But this is nice. Is the Pixel 7 worth it? Yes, it is. It's your man Jay. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you in the next one. Is it worth it? Yeah, it is. Take care, folks.